Hello and welcome to another episode of Sudrian Spotlight, where we are taking a look at the triplets. During the Great War, over 600 locos were built for the war effort to the Great Central 8K design. Many of these were sold post-war to the various railway companies of Britain, and the North Western was no exception. In the early 1920s, the fleet was rebuilt to use the best components in 3 tender and 1 tank engines, with the others being scrapped and components reused elsewhere. During this rebuild, the cabs were swapped for the more enclosed Northwestern type, later copied by the LMS. As per the NWR tradition, the locos were named after warships built at Barrow-in-Furness. This is HMS Vanguard, Powerful and Triumph are the other two. These workhorses slogged away for several years, but in the 1930s, upon the introduction of the Class 8s, they were rebuilt once again with LMS Type 3C boilers. With a working pressure of 225 psi, the tractive effort was increased substantially, and the commonality of components between the old and new locos was a boon for fitters. Triumph was the first to be rebuilt in 1935, with Powerful following in 1938, and Vanguard being the last in 41. The North British Locomotive Company built the boilers under licence from the LMS, and the rebuilding work was done at Crovan's Gate. During the mid to late 1950s, Powerful was experimentally fitted with a Giesel ejector to assess its effect on efficiency. However, the coal saving was minor compared to the standard exhaust setup, and the trial was not repeated on the other locos. Withdrawals took place between 1959 and 1963, by which time Vanguard was well and truly clapped out. The ROD types are known for their clanking rods at the best of times, but to anyone witnessing it on its last legs, it must have seemed like a miracle it was still at work. Moving on to the models, it started with a Photoshop based on the LNAR rebuilds and subclasses of the 04s, mixed with Hatton's Sale of the Century a few years ago. The boilers and cabs come from Hornby Super Detail 8F bodies. The running boards were reused on the Garrett. I'd already measured up a couple of drawings, so I knew the boiler would roughly fit. The cabs only needed a bit of modification, but mostly it was a case of reattaching the original details after painting. Powerful's Giesel ejector is a cast one from RT models, designed for the austerity, so it's probably a bit undersized. I don't think it's too bad though. The original was sawn out and the new one araldited in place, with filler putty added to fill the gap. There is no visible valve gear on the models, so I glued these styrene strips in to give a hint of something being between the frames. Lining and lettering is as usual by Fox Transfers, with light railway stores supplying the name and number plates. I really like having this similar but different fleet, along with the Garrett and tank loco conversion. The idea of having a family design really appeals to me. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video about my models. Please do be sure to check out the playlist for more, and subscribe if you haven't already. More to come from Sudrian Spotlight soon.